Now, today in this morning's meditation, I thought we would try and deal with the elephant in the room with meditation. And if you haven't meditated with me before, you know that for me, it's all about making meditation really simple so that it fits in your life exactly as it is, and also letting go of expectations of ourselves in meditation practice. We don't need to be a monk on a mountaintop to be getting the benefits of training our mind for more calm, more focus, and to ditch stress and overwhelm. But one of the biggest barriers we have with meditation is our thoughts. And no matter who you are, how long you've meditated for, you will get distracted by thoughts in meditation. That's just the nature of the mind. So, in the same way that our nose is a smelling machine, our ears are hearing machines, our minds are thinking machines, and they are constantly generating thoughts. And for most of us, when we close our eyes in meditation, what we become aware of is just how much thinking goes on. And it can go a little bit like this. You close your eyes and then you start to get that kind of almost stream of consciousness of your mind just talking and narrating your experience during the meditation or about your life. So you might start off thinking, I'm just going to follow my breath. Oh, my breath's a bit shallow this morning. Yeah, I wonder if I should go for a run later. Oh God, I don't know if I feel like going for a run. Oh, hang on, I've got a meeting at 11. See how you start with your breath, but suddenly you're thinking about a meeting, you're thinking about a relationship, and our minds are really good at doing that. And so one of the things we can do in meditation is to get underneath that, is try and come back to the rawest experience that we can, so that rather than thinking about our experience and thinking, well, what can I feel in my body, just feeling it. And we can do that through a process called it's an open awareness practice, where we just, instead of trying to focus just on one thing, we just let anything come up in the meditation. And the only thing we need to do is, instead of getting carried away by what we think about that experience, we just note it, we just label it as either a sensation or hearing or thinking. Now, I'm going to guide you through that process. Super simple, but it really helps with that, just creating a bit of space between you and the thoughts that are knocking around. And then in your day-to-day life where you need it most, it helps with creating space between you and the things that are happening. So if there's a stimulus, there's a stressor, it creates space for you to be able to choose how you want to respond, rather than being right in it, like we were, like in that example of thinking with our thoughts, being right in the middle of our thoughts. So we're going to start with our body and just focusing on our body as a way to just land in this moment right now. And then we'll just do this gentle open awareness practice where we just, whatever arises, whatever we notice the most, almost if you were asking yourself a question during the practice, what you'd be asking yourself is, what am I noticing the most right now? And whatever I'm noticing the most right now, that's what I note. So if I notice that I'm most aware of sensations in my body, whether that's the feel of the chair or some other sensation, then it's just sensation. If I'm most aware of a thought, then it's just thinking. Rather than getting caught up in the nature of the thought or what's the thought about or trying to stop the thought, anything's allowed. And weirdly, when we're not trying to control the activity of our mind, it's almost like we've given it permission to be off duty. It's like it's allowed, so therefore it doesn't need to be there. But see what you experience, be curious. And in terms of your posture, just gently trying to find a place between active and relaxed. So what I mean is, we don't want to be so relaxed, particularly if you're still snuggled up in bed, where you're kind of going to fall asleep. Not for this particular type of meditation. And we also don't want to be so kind of paying attention so much to what can I feel, that we're too rigid. So it's that middle space between active and relaxed. And that's about as technical as you need to be. Any position that you feel comfortable is absolutely fine. So let's just gently close down our eyes and just find ourselves into our bodies, wherever that means for you this morning. You might need to take a little bit of fidgeting to just feel into the edges of your body, noticing your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap, and just take your attention to the very tips of your fingers without moving the fingers. Just let your full focus rest there. You might notice a gentle tingling or buzzing in the fingers if you pay attention there. And if you don't notice any sensations, that's okay too, but just notice if you're feeling anything just by paying attention to the fingertips. If you're feeling sensations in your fingertips, that's just your nervous system responding to your attention, your fingers preparing for movement. And you're just listening in to that conversation. And notice if your mind gets distracted, that you lose that sensation in the fingertips. And you can just gently come back without effort or judgment. There's no pass or fail for this meditation. And see if you can also notice your toes. So now your fingers and your toes are in your awareness. Maybe you can feel that same gentle tingling, or maybe you can't feel anything, that's okay too. But just set the intention to have your awareness on your fingertips and your toes. And then allow that awareness to spill over the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. And gently notice your ankles, your shins and your calves, all the way up to your knees. Coming back anytime your mind gets distracted, and just doesn't matter how many times you have to bring your mind back. The most important moment in our practice is that noticing moment. When I notice my mind's wandered and I bring it back, I'm training myself, I'm training my capacity to keep my attention where I choose. Noticing the thighs, into the hips, the whole legs in your awareness now. And then from the hands, noticing the wrists and the forearms, the crook of the arm, and then all the way up to the shoulders, across the chest, down into the belly. Noticing the shoulders, your whole body in your awareness now. And just noticing how that feels. Maybe noticing the jaw, the forehead, the top of the head. And when the mind wanders, gently coming back and setting an intention to be right here, exactly where you're supposed to be. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Right now, for this moment, this is it. And as we sit with our whole body and our awareness, we can just begin to notice that we're also breathing. That while we've been paying attention to our body and scanning our way to this point, the body's been breathing. You haven't needed to make it happen. And sometimes when we suddenly pay attention to the breath, it's almost like we've forgotten how to breathe, and it can almost become momentarily difficult. So just notice the breath now. Notice it traveling down to the belly. And you might also be beginning to notice thoughts and sensations. And then there's the breathing. Now, having spent some time focusing our attention, we're going to allow our attention to be open. So whatever arises in your awareness, having at the back of our minds that question of, what am I noticing the most right now? And if it's sound in your environment or the sounds where I am, instead of noting what the sound is and describing the sound in your mind, which is our tendency, we're just noting hearing. So it's just that raw experience that we're noting, hearing. Just softly, really gently noting in the mind, if that's the most obvious thing right now. If, however, you're aware of a sensation in the body is the most obvious thing. Maybe you notice the feel of your body in the chair, or a sensation of tightness anywhere. And again, instead of being caught in the story about what that sensation is, or describing it in your mind, just see if you can note sensation, sensation, sensation. And we're not noting anything to try and get rid of it. We're just noting it until something else takes its place. And if you realize that you've been carried away by a thought, then you just note thinking, thinking. So taking yourself away from the content of the thought and just noting, oh, there's thinking, thinking, thinking. And we don't need to label everything that comes up, but just what's the most obvious right now. Imagining that it's just flowing past us and we're just noting it. Maybe it takes its time and maybe it stays for a while. That's okay. We're just noting sensation, hearing, thinking. Whatever our experience, just noting it. Not trying to make anything go away or change it. We'll have a few moments of silence to just allow some space to do that. Just noting. Holding it gently and softly. Now, whatever your experience has been during this quiet, whether it's been noisy in your mind, or there's been times where there was nothing to note, and just coming back now and bringing our attention back to the breath. So we're moving back towards focusing the mind and keeping our attention gently in one place, just resting it there. So just noticing the breath coming in and leaving the body. And as you breathe in, just noticing that the body rises. So the belly rises, the rib cage rises, and the chest gently rises. And as you breathe out, the chest falls, the rib cage falls, and the belly falls. So just rising and falling. And we're going to take 3 slower, deeper breaths just to remind our body and our system that we can take this moment of calm into the day. So breathing in through the nose, all the way down to the belly, and then slowly exhaling, slowing down the exhale out through the nose. Inhaling through the nose, and then exhaling through the nose. Inhaling through the nose, And then exhaling through the nose. And then letting the breath find its natural rhythm. Returning movement to the fingers and the toes. Just gently moving them again, just noticing how it feels to be moving again, and just letting that movement just gently make its way up the wrists and the ankles, the arms, the legs, the torso, just taking whatever movement feels good, maybe some stretching. It's good to move the body in the morning, just moving whatever you're feeling. And then whenever you're ready, you can gently blink open your eyes. And it can be really useful to just get yourself back into the space that you're in, to just notice 3 things that you can see in your environment right now. And then notice 3 things that you can hear right now. And then finally, 3 sensations that you can feel in your body right now. There we go. Now, hopefully you feel a little bit more connected to yourself right now, ready to start your week. And this noting practice that we did with our eyes closed today can be really useful to use when you're feeling overwhelmed. So you can, if you feel like everything is right here on top of you, you can just gently note, what is it, this thinking? And it can just really help to create that space in the heat of the moment. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you. And I will see you all. Have a great week. Take care.